Welcome aboard, and on this week's episode, we delve into Pokemon Snap. We discuss indies versus AAA titles and a PlayStation Discord partnership. This is Triple XP.
Triple XP.
Welcome to episode 29. I'm Shane and this is Mike.
Hello.
And this week we're joined by Sarah, or some of you know her, Sarahforthewine.
Hello.
Welcome back, Sarah.
Thank you.
It's been a long time.
I know, seriously.
Like a really long time.
It's been ages.
Yeah, I was wondering if you guys even liked me anymore.
No, but nobody else would do it, so welcome back.
Yeah, I'm also my own last choice, so I get it.
Well, I mean, what happened was I got really bad at writing down a schedule, basically.
Mm-hmm.
I just
It's
haven't.
hectic.
Life's hectic. I haven't managed to
Yeah.
catch up yet. So that, and then, bad times. But you're here now, and that's what matters.
Exactly.
So how have you been since we last saw you, which was probably months ago?
Yeah, I want to say it was like before the new year. Good. I actually been playing a lot of games on my own time. I haven't been streaming pretty much at all. I've been more focused on exercising because, you know, JB's my boyfriend and that's all he does. And so that's all I do now.
Gotta find a hobby that works.
Yeah.
Mine and Ellie's is just eating chocolate.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just I found it more motivating to wake up and work out instead of wake up to play games. But I still wake up early, play an hour of games while I drink my coffee, and then I work out, and then continue to play games while I work. So it's just now I just play games all day instead of just the morning.
Nice.
Why don't you get one of those like exercise bikes that has a TV on it, so you can just play games while you work out?
So we actually do have one of those. It just came in the mail 2 weeks ago. We have the Velocore one, the one that goes like left and right.
I mean, I have no idea what you just said, but yes.
Yeah, we do have one, but I can't play games on those. Well, actually, that's not true. I guess I could. We are getting a new rowing machine in sometime soon, and that's got games on it.
I mean,
Nice.
people can play games on their like Tesla cars, so I'm pretty sure you can figure out how to play games on it.
That's true.
I'll give you a run for your money on track and field.
No, he would not.
I'm talking about the game, not like.
I don't even think that you'd give her a run for her money on.
You use the rowing machine, and I'll just use a lighter and just wrap the buttons. That was the hack back in the day.
Didn't track and field though have a lot of like tapping really far?
Yeah. But if you were just a cheating bastard like me, you just get like a cigarette lighter and just wrap it across the buttons really fast, so you wouldn't hurt your fingers, and you'd go like just break world records like instantly.
But there you have it. Mike's a cheater, but now we all know.
Well, I think winning is winning, so.
Winning's winning.
I mean, that is true. That is true. Well, on the note of you've been playing some games, what have you been playing?
Me?
Yeah. Let's start with you.
So most recently, I picked up Disco Elysium. I was just talking about how I tried to stream it, but it's just all text-based, and either I'm paying attention to chat or I'm paying attention to the game, and I wasn't getting a full experience for either. So just on a whim, downloaded it again and started playing it, and I'm so into it. So I've been playing that mostly, and then once in a while I don't know how to pronounce this game correctly, but it's called Dorf Romantique. It's like a puzzle game, but you're building cities and stuff, and it's just really mindless and relaxing because, you know, for me, puzzle games are relaxing.
Or a nerd.
I like that nerd puzzle shit. Yeah, I've been playing those. I'm really enjoying Disco Elysium.
I'd put
it's
Disco
got-
Elysium down as your like perfect game, Sarah.
Would I put it down as my perfect game?
No, I'm saying I would put it down as like your ideal game. It's got like
Yeah. It's just like reading and puzzles and story and character and crime and sadness and depression. It's exactly my type of game.
Have you? So it's got voice actors now, hasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, because I've recently purchased the PS5, whatever edition it is, the version that came out on PS5. I don't know what it's called, and the voice acting in it is so well done.
It's so good, and it brings that game to just another level. And like, I still read the text, but it's just so fun to hear everyone.
But it's like, so for me, and I didn't play it prior. I didn't play it pre voice acting, but like when I read the text now, I read it in the voice that I have heard the voice actors give it in, with the exception of those characters that obviously don't ever get voices. But all the ones that have had a voice, it's now giving me that voice in my head of how to read it in their voice and their accent.
Yep. And it's really fun. Like I said, sometimes, well, most of the time, I'll work and play. So if I have to listen to some stupid meeting and I read the text, I do exactly what you do. I read it in that voice now, and it's just another experience.
So for anyone who works with Sarah, none of the meetings are stupid. They're all really important. We promise. No, stupid meeting. Yeah. So I mean, are you quite far through? Because I know I'm not particularly far through at all. I'm on like I've literally only got some first night.
I honestly don't know. I think I'm on Wednesday. You start on Monday. I'm on Wednesday, and I don't know how much longer it is. I know I was looking through some reviews, and some people have like hundreds of hours on it. Some have like 20, and I honestly have no idea how long this game is.
No, me neither. Interesting.
Yeah.
And it is depressive and dark and weird.
It's great. It's great. When I first played it, I went like the empath route, but this time I'm going as like the logical person, and it's just so funny to watch him just fail miserably at trying to understand people. It's so great.
So I've gone for the of the character builds, the one I don't know which one it is, but it's the one that says is potentially going insane.
Nice, yeah.
Just because I thought that'd be funny. But also, I enjoy how at times it's weirdly dark and sexual, but in an uncomfortable way.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil anything, but you meet a person and you have some options to like be a cop or like experiment with your other side, and you're like, should I fix my tie or should I whisper in his ear? And you're like, what is happening? It's so funny.
Should I touch a dead guy's penis? Like, there's so many options available in that game.
I know. Yeah, if I feel like I'm about to have, I always quick save before any conversation starts, just because I have a tendency to want to know I know what a bad answer might be, and I always quick save before a conversation so I can make those bad choices and go back if I have to. I try not to do that as much, but like, should I touch the penis? You never know when that's gonna come up, so I'm always like, okay, save. Yes, touch the penis.
Yeah, see, I agree. You never know when that's going to come up in a game.
Or in real life.
Or in real life.
Right.
I just don't quick save. I'm like, oh, should I touch the penis? Fuck it. Like, let's just see where this train takes me.
Yeah, it's so good. So good.
Yes, it's a strange one, is that? And on the note of puzzle games, you were saying that you like puzzle games. I actually re-downloaded a puzzle game that I absolutely adored years ago. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, called Puzzle Agent.
Puzzle Agent? No.
Yeah, it's a Telltale game.
Sounds like a puzzle game.
It literally is like a guy who goes to a town to solve a murder, but everything he has to do is a puzzle. Like, every single thing he comes across is a puzzle he has to solve. It's just
Like,
hundreds and hundreds of puzzles.
What's that DS one, like Professor Layton?
like
Like
that,
yeah.
but not. It's
So a second
because,
game I have to go buy.
yeah, I mean, you can probably pick it up quite cheap to be fair on Steam, because it Telltale obviously doesn't exist anymore.
Right.
But yeah, it's definitely worth checking out. It's a great little puzzle game.
Add it
That
to the
sounds
list.
awesome. Yep, add it to the list.
As is that backlog.
Actually, the backlog is thinning out because I just keep playing during work.
Wow, someone that's actually beating the backlog.
Yeah.
I've just given up. I'm like, fuck it, I'll buy all the games. I don't care. I've
Well,
the
as I said
biggest
to you last
backlog.
week, I don't have a backlog anymore. It's a buffet of games. That's all it is. It's a buffet. Just help myself when I need to. Well, on a note of, and Mike, we'll leave yours to last because you've got the two biggest titles to talk about today.
Sure.
But on the note of playing, not during work, I only play on my lunch breaks because I can't afford. Unfortunately, I'm always on camera to play during work. I'll definitely get caught out.
Shane's a cam girl.
A what?
Cam girl.
Cam girl. Yeah, that's what I am. I'm a cam girl.
The secret's out.
Only games.
This is not the games I want to talk about today, but it did just made me think of this. On my lunch breaks, so in our home office, I've got an old CRT TV screen set up with two of the old light guns, like the G-Cons. So I now spend pretty much all of my lunch breaks, as I work from home, 40 minutes a day playing Time Crisis 1, 2, or 3, depending on my mood that day. That's all I do on my lunch break now.
Pretty sweet lunch break.
I'm so jealous. Time Crisis is my shit.
Yeah, it's great. I found that like it's such a stress killer. Just shooting random multicolored bad guys on a extremely old looking game. It just kills stress and it's super fun. And I forgot how great 3 is because you get shotguns and grenade launchers.
So, how does Time Crisis work at home? I think I've only played them in arcades.
So you back in like the late 90s and early 2000s, you could buy the light guns that they use in the arcades.
Oh,
So
I have those.
yeah, you got the G-Con 45 is one of the ones I've got, which is the old grey one, and that's the one that looks
Yeah.
exactly like the ones in the arcades. And then they brought out the G-Con, I want to say it was called the G-Con 2, which is the blue one. There was a couple of other guns that came out as well, but they were the two main ones. And the blue G-Con came out with the PlayStation 2, and that one actually came out with, it was I think it was Time Crisis 2 when that gun came out.
Yeah, I think one was on. Time Crisis 1 was on.
The PlayStation
PS1,
1,
wasn't it? Yeah.
and that was with the G-Con 1 or the G-Con 45, sorry, and then PS2 was Time Crisis 2 and 3, but with the G-Con 2. So I've got them both set up so I can dual wield or do split screen co-op. The only thing is, at home, you have to, and there's probably someone who's listening to this who knows better than me, but my understanding is you have to use old school CRT TVs because of the way the light bounces off the glass screen. That's how they work. You can't use like new plasma TVs, for example, because it doesn't pick up the light properly.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So yeah, I've got that set up.
Sarah, this could be a new project after the cat patio.
Oh yeah, this is something I could build.
Well, I was quite lucky in that I already had the games when my other half moved in, and she moved in years ago now. But when she moved in, I already had the games. I already had the PlayStation 2, and she's a bit of a sentimentalist and doesn't like throwing anything away. And she brought with her CRT TV from when she was a child.
No way.
So it was a proper.
That was meant to be.
Built-in DVD player with little pig stickers on it. And I was just like, "What are we doing with that then? Should I just put it in the loft?" Nope, I am putting that in the spare room.
I love it. That's a sign right there.
Exactly. So yeah, that's all set up and ready to go. But that's not. Although I've been playing out my lunch, that's not what. Well, that's not what I've played. What I've been playing this week. What I have been playing is firstly, my time at Porsche. I know you spoke about this previously, Mike.
Yeah, I played a good chunk of this game. I got really hooked on it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
hate it. I love that game.
Well, it went on sale recently for like £3, though, and I knew that obviously you guys had spoken about how great it was, so I finally thought, fuck it, £3, I'll pick it up. And yeah, it's great, isn't it? It's like 3D. What's the farming one?
Yeah.
My brain's gone.
Stardew Valley,
Yeah.
that's the one, yeah.
We were all like,
we run a gaming podcast, and that's like one of the biggest games in recent
And we all
times.
just
We're all like,
but yeah, it reminds me of like a 3D version of that, but obviously with slightly less farming, or at least right now there's less farming in what I'm doing. But like the way that the game works very much reminds me a lot of that.
yeah, there's a lot of
Yeah.
like resource gathering and getting to know people and stuff like that.
Yeah, and even like the mining, which I really enjoy. I spend a lot of times in the ruins. But I mean, I've not played much. I think I'm only like 9 or 10 days in. I'm still doing like the first big commission for the bridge. But it's just a really chill game. I've been chilling too.
Yeah.
yeah, it's a lot of fun, and then you start to optimize your building and resource gathering, and you just keep improving upon it, and it's just it gets better. Yeah.
Just keep optimizing, improvement, and then you bring communism to the town, and then the next thing you're a leader. That's how it works,
Exactly.
isn't it?
Exactly. And it's a cute little game with also a great story.
Yeah, the story's pretty good. I don't think I actually finished it at the end, but this game for me wasn't a chill out game. It was a stressful time because me and Ellie were playing it alongside each other, and when we play alongside each other, it just turned into a competition, and it was like a race of just like, oh, who can get to the end first, and then we just eventually we were just playing it every night, and then we just both burnt out on it and didn't get to the end, so that one was a draw for us, but. Yeah, it wasn't a chill, relaxed time. It was always like, how did you get that? Why are you there? Like, how did you get there? What's this?
Well, luckily, I'm not racing anyone, so I've very much taken my time with it.
Yeah,
Are
it's probably
you
the best way.
playing it on the Switch?
Yes.
So the Switch, I don't think they're doing any updates to it. It does get buggy and it will crash on you, so I would recommend saving often.
Yeah, I've noticed that already. I do save quite often, especially when you're in the mines. Like after so many hits, it won't crash, but there would definitely be a bit of a stutter.
Yeah.
So I had a feeling there's some technical limitations there, but for what it is, it's not technical enough to annoy me. So
yeah, it was like it would crash on me every 3 days, and I'd be like, "Oh, cool, that's fine," and then I would continue.
Yeah, exactly. Like
just becomes part of the game.
Yeah.
Day 3, like, the crash is coming. Better save.
I mean, the thing is, with like when it comes to crashes now, I have a standard, and that is it worse than my Skyrim crash? And if it's not worse than that, then I can deal with it. And for reference, the Skyrim crash I had, which I know was very...
This is going to hurt me internally when you say this.
No, I know it happened a lot at the time, because I had Skyrim it was on PS3, wasn't it? I had it on the PS3, and PlayStation was notorious for having more bugs in it anyway. And I got the crash where every time a dragon would appear, the game would completely crash and freeze, and then you wouldn't be able to do anything. And I was at a point where basically I loaded in, I left the town, and instantly, every single time, without fail, a dragon would instantly appear and crash the game. You couldn't play for longer than about 4 minutes before the game crashed. The only way around that was to completely delete your save and start again, which I wasn't prepared to do. So I never finished the game. I hate it now. I have problems with it, but that's my bar for crashing now. Is it worse than that crash?
That's pretty fucking bad.
Yeah, it's a bad one.
Yeah, it made the game completely unplayable, and PS3 was notoriously bad for Skyrim, unfortunately, when it came to crashes when it first came out. Obviously, it's better now, but...
So we've reached the real reason why you hate Skyrim so much.
I mean, that and the grey and brown, obviously.
Don't get me started. Don't get me started.
But
I
that's
almost bought it on the Switch.
I did again. Like
I
I
knew
was
you
so
were
close.
gonna.
I was so
Surprise
close.
me.
Knew it.
Every time it's on sale, I'm like, oh my god, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it.
I need to buy it. But yeah, I mean that's the main sort of new game I've been playing. Obviously, I deleted, as I said to you last week, I deleted Destiny because it makes me upset and depressed with life.
Mhm.
So I've been that off, and I've replaced my multiplayer sort of like group friend gaming with Battlefield 5 because it's going on PlayStation Plus next month, and I already have it, so I reinstalled that to start getting back into it.
Getting
ready
ahead of the
for-
curve.
Yeah, well, I mean, let's be honest. I'm never going to be ahead of any curve. Awful still, but just get back to the feel of it before it gets flooded with hopefully brand new players who don't know what they're doing that I can just then kill and get better at the game myself, or just die, which is more likely.
Hmm.
And I've also been running our friend Matt through Monster Hunter World because he's never played it before.
Oh, nice. I
Yeah,
too
so-
have been introducing someone to Monster Hunter, and I think this is the way forward to get more people playing Monster Hunter. Is just pick one person and then just get them to play, show them the
Yeah.
ropes, and then they're hooked, and then they're in.
Yeah, and we were having a great time. My old Monster Hunter World save deleted for some reason, and I can't get it back. I don't know what happened to it, so I've had to start again anyway.
That's a lot.
Um,
That was for me if that happened. It's like
It is,
500
but-
plus.
It is a lot, but you know what? Because I'm like taking Matt through the game, it doesn't feel that bad because I'm at the same level as him, so I'm just
Yeah.
working through it with him, and it feels almost more pleasant working through at his level instead of like being miles ahead of him. But yeah, I mean, I've just been dabbling in those really, so not much to say on that. I'm so happy. Like, even though I'm bad at Battlefield 5, Friday night I was up to like 1 a.m., 2 a.m. playing game, as I always do on a Friday. And normally I finish playing Destiny and I fucking hate myself and I feel depressed and I just never want to play games again because Destiny does that to me. And for the first time in months, after doing really badly in Battlefield 5, I went to bed going, I enjoyed that. That was fine. I'm happy.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So
Yeah.
that's
Proud
the
of
way
you
forward.
For something that's proud of you for dropping something that's making you unhappy. That's hard.
It is, especially because Destiny's addictive as fuck.
Yeah.
But it's alright. I'll just get killed in Battlefield 5 instead. And
Just
hate my
replaced it
life
with
less.
something else.
yeah, but the hate is less, and that's
Yeah.
what matters.
Right.
Battlefield games are never like too serious either. Like it's always just fun.
The thing with Battlefield, and I was discussing this with a few of my friends during the week, is you can't necessarily get too angry when you die in Battlefield because it is just fucking chaos.
Yeah.
Like sometimes it's just you're unlucky to just be in the wrong place at the wrong time and just get like a fucking plane drops on you or something, or the building explodes. Like you can't always dictate the way the game plays out, and you could be the best player and still get absolutely destroyed by some really fucking random thing happening on the map that you just could not anticipate.
I think like as well, there's the only real challenge in there is kind of like the challenges you set yourself in the game, in the match or whatever. Like you'll say like this match I'm just going to drive a tank, and then the next match I'm just going to be like a sniper, and you just kind of play like your own little separate game.
Yeah, definitely.
Within the whole context of like the massive battle. I love Battlefield.
So do I, and I'm so happy it's going on to PlayStation Plus because that will really like boost it up as well. But the only thing I never understand with Battlefield is how is people's vision so good? Jesus, I wear glasses and I still can't see shit.
It's a lot of Doritos,
a mile away, and I'm like, I can't even see. Like I'm getting shot by this tiny little, slightly dark green dot in the woods.
Does 5 still have like the little Dorito above your head like 4 did? Where where you spot someone with like the spot button.
I don't know. I can't remember.
Yeah, because you'd literally like spot someone fucking 10 miles away. You'd see the Dorito, you'd aim at the Dorito, you'd get a kill. It's so easy.
Yeah, I don't know if it does that. It might do, but I don't know. But I played a game earlier and it was just like, oh, I just got killed by some mud. Oh no, wait, there is a man in that mud.
Yeah.
I just can't see him.
Like Arnold Schwarzenegger, just like.
Yeah, literally. But yeah, so that's me for this week. Not really much to talk about. But if you haven't played My Time at Porsche, you should, because it's cheap and it's cool, and I'm enjoying it a lot. But now
Yep,
for
I agree.
the big ones this week, because I really want to hear what you've got to say about both of your games this week.
Same.
Yeah, I'm going to start with Pokemon Snap, the new Pokemon Snap, which I was sort of a bit on the fence with at first. And then once I realised I was getting it through, shout out to the boys at Boomerang, I was getting it through rental. I was like, yeah, I'm so excited for this. Got it in, started played for about an hour, and I was like, oh my God, this is just like childhood. Like, I remember all of this, and like the nostalgia hit was like unreal. It was so good. And then it's like the first hour, like it dwindles for me personally. Like, I think it's just because I'm older and Pokemon's just like not as like interesting to me anymore. So yeah, what were you guys like on this game? Were you excited for it, or?
Sarah, after you.
Yeah, so when they announced that they were coming out with it, I was super excited. And then it came out, and I told JB that I was going to go to the store to go get it, and then when I looked it up and saw the price and was like, "Hey, you know what? I don't think it's that worth it." And then looked at reviews and just saw some screenshots and was like, I don't care. I don't know. I don't know what happened. I went from 100 to 0 basically. I think it was this morning. JB was like, "Oh my God, you didn't get Snap," and I was like, "Yeah, I know. I don't know. I just don't feel like it."
Yeah, it's a bit like that for me. Like once I started playing it, it was like, yeah, this is good, and it is like, don't get me wrong, it's a solid game. It is like really good gameplay wise and everything. It's kind of all the same as what it used to be, and it's a solid game. It's just really riding on this nostalgia. One thing about like the gameplay specifically is the controls are not like amazing. They're not great. I found them really sort of janky, especially the motion controls, because you think like, okay, I'll use my Switch handheld like a camera, and you'll look around and it is sort of fluid, but then you end up just missing shots because you just like swing too wide, or if you use the thumbsticks at the same time, you'll like either slow your turn or speed your turn up, and it's just a lot to get used to, especially if you're not used to using motion controls. Like I tend to not use them, tend to turn them off. Especially for like aiming and shooting and things, I tend to have them just switched off.
Yeah, I heard from some review that playing it on like the handheld, it just doesn't work, and it's better to play it on a screen or something.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of why I was excited. It was like, oh, it'd be like holding an actual camera, and like you'll press like the trigger buttons, and that'll be like your shutter. But it's not. It's like the shutter's automatically set to A, so I had to like switch the controls around and stuff like that. Molly.
Excuse me.
Molly.
Because it's like a full-on tornado outside at the moment.
Yeah,
It's
the weather's
honestly
been
ridiculous, the weather over here right now.
The weather's been ridiculous recently.
It's gonna be all right, Molly.
But yeah, getting back to Pokemon. Speaking of small annoying creatures,
I've got a couple of questions before you continue with what you're on, because unlike Sarah, I never started at 100. I think I started at about 20 when I heard this announcement, and I've worked to like -10 now, because I had very little interest in this when it was announced. I was never a huge fan of the original personally. I found the whole idea of it a little bit mundane, and like, my garden gate just blew down. A little bit mundane, and yeah, not quite interesting. But I mean, if anybody has listened to this podcast before, you'll know that we love Pokemon. We speak about it all the time, and I think it's a beautiful looking game. But from everything I've read and everything I've seen, this just highlights the same thing I've been saying week in, week out about Pokemon. A game that is literally about small creatures evolving into more powerful, better creatures, and yet over the however many years it's been going, it hasn't managed to evolve into something better than it was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I find it absolutely mental that like they've like you said, this is the same Pokemon Snap just with a facelift, and
Essentially, yeah.
they've not managed to, like you say, you've got so much new technology at their fingertips, so many new ideas that have been coming around for the last 25, 35 years, however long Pokemon's been out, and yet they haven't taken that on board and changed and adapted.
But this is kind of my point, is that like this Pokemon game is not for us who are like old school kind of fans and we want it to grow and develop and change. This is more for like diehard fans that are just sort of like, I love Pokemon, I love the world, I want to explore it, I want to take pictures of these little creatures or whatever. But
So
like,
this is for Ryan.
Basically. I think like there's certain types of Pokemon fans, we just don't fit the bill for this game, I don't think.
Yeah, I thought I was a diehard fan because when I don't know. I guess I agree with you, Shane, because I guess when you think about all the older Pokemon games, up until a couple of years ago, they were still pretty difficult, but instead of evolving, they kind of devolved into this easy game with the same concept from back then. Whereas back then, it was fun because it was challenging.
It was challenging for when you were like 12 and playing it as like a 10, 11, 12-year-old.
Yeah, but like even now when I go back, because I once in a while I'll play Blue. Blue is my favorite one, and you still have to pay attention to your grind and make sure that you know what gym you're going to and plan accordingly, and there is more thought that goes on to it. Whereas like as long as you don't even have to train your party anymore, everyone levels up all together every time, no matter what.
Yeah.
And there's just no difficulty at all.
It's like they've made too many quality of life changes and made it just far too easy.
Right.
Yeah, and also just bouncing off something you said earlier, Sarah, as well. It's better in TV mode than in handheld mode. Now, I mean, correct me if you think differently, but to me, the Switch is like a 60-40 console or a 70-30, with that higher number being the handheld mode, as in I use my Switch more in handheld mode, and I'm more likely to use it in handheld mode than I ever am in like big screen mode.
Yeah, I rarely play my Switch on the screen. I mean, going back to playing while I work, if I'm working, I'll attach it to my screen that I use for playing games, but other than that, for the most part, I'm playing it handheld. The only other game that I don't play handheld is that drum game.
Yeah, but my point on that is that, so if you're a developer who's making a game for all across all three consoles, I don't know, let's just say Bethesda, because we spoke about them already. You're making a game that's going to go across all the consoles, then it would make sense that you're making a game that is more likely going to operate better in TV mode than in handheld mode. But if you're a company that solely operates to work with Nintendo, and your entire repertoire is that of handheld gaming, how the fuck do you make a game that works better in TV mode than handheld mode?
That's true. I like Mike said, it would have made more sense to try to make it more like you're holding a camera.
Yeah. It's just, I had a lot of expectations for this game, and it's just not quite hit them. It wasn't the nostalgia hit that I wanted. I know a lot of people have like, the nostalgia's great, it's just like the old game, and I just kind of wanted a bit more, I think. Like this,
I think. Sorry,
like
go ahead.
there's definitely more features and stuff in Snap, in the new Snap now. But there's also like a weird sort of progression system that just feels like a grind. Like you have to keep going over the same levels over and over again, and then level up on that level, and it just feels like you're just retreading and stuff, like the same ground. Although when you do level up in that area that you go to, you'll see different things and different Pokemon will pop up, and they'll get sort of more used to you, so they'll do different things and stuff as you level up. But it's just a grind, and it just feels like not as fun as what the original one was, where it was like you go to this area, you'll take some pictures, then you unlock the next area, and then you'll keep going. it's just a straightforward progression.
Right.
Whereas
But
this one, there's a lot of retreading. It doesn't feel great.
Is that not the big problem with nostalgia though? Is that nostalgia is that rose tinted glasses? Like you will always remember nostalgia. You'll always have like a nostalgia for things and remember them better than they were. And if you were to be the man you are now, but 20 years ago playing the original Pokemon Snap, would you have had the same views you have about the current Pokemon Snap back then? But because you're remembering it as, like you say, as a 12-year-old.
Yeah, I mean, back then I didn't care about controls and like, gameplay mechanics and things like that. It was just Pokemon. I was in the world of Pokemon and I loved it. But like now, that's no longer enough for me. It's like I'm definitely the wrong person to review this game because I think it's for people who are fans of Pokemon. And if you're not a fan of Pokemon, then there's not much here for you. Like the gameplay's not good enough to warrant $60 or whatever it is.
But then I disagree with your comment there because I don't think you are not the wrong person. I think you're actually the right person to review this game simply because you are a Pokemon fan, but you are more representative of the average gamer who has played Pokemon in their life and not a die-hard fan. Because most die-hard fans are going to come away from this going, this is amazing, it's rewrote Pokemon, I've got so much faith in Pokemon again. And then the people like me, you and Sarah are going to go out and buy it and go, what are you talking about? It's not that great.
Yeah.
Well, actually, you're giving a view from somebody who has grown up with and loves Pokemon and actually wants a really good, solid Pokemon game, but are finding that what we're getting is not that, and it's actually now not in the realms of what we want to play in our life and at our age.
Yeah, I think the last like 3 Pokemon games I've been pretty disappointed, and that's why I was like, I'm gonna wait to think about Snap.
Yeah.
I've not enjoyed Pokemon since Y.
That's what I mean. Is it kind of like, are we Pokemon fans anymore? Like, have we stopped being fans? Are we too old for it now? I don't know. But that said, the game is solid if you're into it. It's stress-free, fun, chill time. But, it's Pokemon. So.
Curiously, just before you do move on, because I know you want to, have your kids played it? I'm just curious if they've enjoyed it or not.
No. They're not super into Pokemon, so.
Fair enough.
Yeah, so they're just not. They're not that into Pokemon.
No, that's fair. I just wanted to ask because if they just out of curiosity.
I think that's possibly the next test before I give a review score is how do the kids find it,
Yeah. Well, I do because again though, although I know the Pokemon cartoons are still out, I don't know if Pokemon is quite as big as it used to be when we were kids, particularly in the UK. With kids
I'm not
these
sure.
days,
I don't know.
is it?
I'm sure there's some
is
fans
it on
out
the
there.
main? No, I'm sure there are fans, but like, I mean, you're very close to me in age, aren't you? And we would wake up with Saturday morning TV, and Pokemon was like one of the key shows that was on every Saturday morning. So it was like it was in your face,
straight after the paper on that bad boy.
Exactly. Whereas now, is it more a show that you have to kind of seek out on a specific channel at a specific time, as opposed to it being shoved in your face by Ant and Dec and Cat Dealey every week?
Yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah, I don't know if I can't answer that question because it's not around anymore or because I don't care anymore.
Yeah, that's reasonable as well.
Yeah.
That is reasonable. But anyway, I'll let you move on now. I know you want to stop talking about Pokemon.
Yeah, we'll be here all night otherwise. So the next game I've been playing is Fire Emblem, the Three Houses, which I've been absolutely fucking in love with. This is the second time I've rented it. First time I just wasn't in an RPG mood, I don't think. I just didn't get on with it well. So this time I gave it a good shot, got way past the tutorial, gave it its first shot, and I fucking love it. It's so good. It's so much fun.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
How much further than the tutorial did you get?
I'm on about 20 hours or so now. Maybe more.
A good bit.
Yeah. I think if you can get past 20 hours in a game, then you've got me.
I mean, you say that, Sarah, but bearing in mind I think it's potentially a Japanese game, and
That's
if you were to compare that to Persona, 20 hours, I'm pretty sure you're still in tutorial zone.
I was gonna say, yeah, you still are in tutorial. But
Yeah,
that still
still.
means you got past the tutorial, so that's
Yeah,
good.
the first tutorial, the buttons, I got past that. But like, it kind of reminds me of Game of Thrones in a way. Like, let me just start again. Like, it's a strategy RPG with tactics as like the main gameplay element, which is what brought me to it and what is like the main pull for me. But it's the side bit. It's like getting to know the characters, and you spend all of your downtime in between battles in like a. It's not a school, is it? It's like
It's like more like a university.
It's like a monastery, isn't it? Yeah, which is sort of like there's a lot of classes and lessons and things like that. And you start off the game, you're just a random mercenary, just minding his own business. You meet this one knight, and he's like, "Oh, come to this monastery," and then you just work there. Like, there's no there's no reason for it. You just work there.
But it's like a military monastery because all the students there are learning to be like battle lieutenants and stuff, aren't they?
Yeah,
Your specific school is there to raise these people to be like good at war, essentially.
Yeah, and there's three houses or three schools, and they all represent the three different kingdoms that surround the monastery. As like the central sort of monastery. But yeah, you initially start as a professor. You just get hired. I don't know why. I've not got that far in the story yet to know why I'm hired. But you meet sort of like the head of the houses, and they have their all unique personalities, and then you meet the students that are like under them kind of thing, and they all have their own unique personalities, and you're just getting to know like all of these different characters in this downtime.
Do you see what I mean when I said last week about how every character feels like handcrafted, and like every character has a full written storyline to themselves?
Yeah, definitely. Like I kind of compared it to like Game of Thrones in the fact that when you're first thrown in, you have no fucking idea what's going on, who's who, why are they here, what's this place. Like you have all these different lords and ladies and shit like that, and then you eventually get to know them. And you're like, holy shit, this is this and that's this, and these two people are connected in this way, and it just opens up as the more you play. Like it's really good character development.
I have to get this game.
You do, honestly, and the combat as well. Like it's so well done, it's so clever and like intuitive, in my opinion.
Yeah, I really like the combat. It's like a tile-based strategy almost.
Oh, I love it already.
Wait, is it tile-based? Yeah, it's tile-based.
It is tile-based. Yeah, because it's definitely tile-based.
Yeah. I was just trying to think of like the last battle, and I was like, but it was all like curvy, and it wasn't like in little square dungeons. But yeah.
No, it is tile-based, and so as you go through the game, like you build all of the students. As you build up relationships with them, they help each other better in battle. So if you have a particularly good relationship with two specific characters and you have them like alongside each other when they're out in their tiles in the battle, they'll do like special moves and stuff to support each other.
They'll perform really better if they're with people that they like, which is great for like all your downtime. You're like building relationships and stuff and doing stuff all with all these students of yours. So you have sort of like different classes and things as well that your students will level up and become like a Pegasus Knight or a monk, and they'll have all these different skills and stuff like healing and the usual dark magic, light magic. You have a lance, which is great. I've got so many lances on my team. I just like run around on my little horse and just stab people in the face. It's great.
So what house did you go with?
The blue one. They call it the Black Eagles or something. They're called.
No, the Black Eagles is red.
That's the red one.
The lions, isn't it? The blue.
That's it. Yeah.
I can't remember what yellow are. No one likes yellow.
Yeah, fuck yellow.
No, it's not true. Everyone likes yellow, but well, because each house as well has its own like
sort of affinity to. One's like magic, one's archery, and then the other one's like a soldiers.
Yeah,
basically,
but they've all got like their own political personalities as well, haven't they? For each house, so like the yellow house is very much around like peace and only fighting if you absolutely have to. Like they're more around sort of like protecting than they are around fighting. And then like the Black Eagles are like, we will fucking destroy you.
Yeah.
Whereas the blue are all about like honor and like chivalry.
Yeah.
And that sort of like each house is separately different. Because I went with red with the Black Eagles, mainly for Eldegard and her and Bernadette.
Yeah, I'm actually working on Bernadette coming over to my little school, because you can, if you develop a relationship with like a student outside your class, you can bring them over to your class, basically, like poach them.
Not gonna lie, if someone was to take that clip, that sounds really fucking dodgy.
But
that
yeah,
I mean, court case.
Yeah.
You can take any clip from anything we ever say, and it could be dodgy.
Yeah.
That is true.
Speaking of dodgy, I was mentioning this game to JB, and as he's like, I know he's just finished Persona, and the sort of downtime elements are really similar to Persona 5 in the way you like building relationships and doing like little mini games and shit together, but it builds like your stats in the strategy tactics part, which is really good. I think, yeah, Sarah, this is your ideal game. Get this instead of Pokemon Snap.
Okay, no problem.
And this has been out for a year or two, so I mean, it probably won't be, but it might be a little bit cheaper.
No, it's a Nintendo game.
I can probably probably find a hard copy of it somewhere for cheaper.
I feel like
Maybe
Nintendo games go down, like devalue better than like brand new cars do.
Yeah.
Yeah, if anything, I wouldn't be surprised if it's gone up in price. Like that's how ridiculous Nintendo games are. I remember when I think it was Zelda, the Breath of the Wild came out like a year before Spider-Man did, and I traded both my Zelda in and my Spider-Man in at the same time. And my Zelda was still worth more than Spider-Man, which had only been out. So, like, Spider-Man had been out for like 2 months, if that. And its trade value was like £25, whereas Zelda had been out well over a year, and its trade value was £36.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Absolutely.
And they sell it for like double that as well.
Yeah.
Like pre-owned game, £60.
Out for like £60, and they'll be like, well, it's still cheaper than Nintendo's full price value.
Yeah. What else I'm loving about this game as well is the challenge of it, like the actual gameplay challenge, like seems pretty gradual. Like it's quite easy at first, but it seems to be getting harder and harder as I go through. And you also have this sort of spirit guide woman character that's with you. It's yet unexplained to me, but basically she has the ability to like rewind time. So if you lose your battle, you can literally go back like through the steps that you've taken, and then just be like, right, okay, I'll start again from here and try things differently. So it's perfect for me in the fact that it's just a really chill game. Like I don't have to stress about it. I don't have to I can literally be cooking tea and playing it at the same time. So yeah,
Are you playing? I take it you're not then playing the insta-death.
No,
mode?
I opted out of that just because I just wanted it to be like a relaxing kind of chill time rather than be like permadeath, being more like XCOM basically. I did describe this game to someone that it's basically XCOM for weebs, and I can't think of a better description than that.
Because I my first playthrough I played with the permadeath off, and the second playthrough I played with permadeath on, and it's an upsetting, because especially if you've played it once already, and you genuinely do feel like you get to know these characters that are being built, and then it's so much more upsetting when they die. Knowing they're never going to come back.
I was thinking that, like, because one of my characters died, I was like, no! And I was like, oh, wait, no, it's fine. It's fine, he'll be there. He'll be there when I get back. But, yeah just imagining it with, like, permadeath on, I'd be heartbroken. Sure. Yeah. But then you get the rewind feature, I'm assuming in that as well, maybe, I don't know.
In the permadeath mode, yeah, everything's the same, except...
if you die in the game, you die for real.
Yeah, but if basically if they're dead at the end of the battle, they're dead.
Yeah.
And also, I don't know, I can't remember if in the non-permadeath mode, but you can only rewind like once or twice, isn't it? Like you can't just rewind consistently.
No, you get.
You
I think
get
it's like once or twice per battle. Yeah.
Yeah, so you can if you fuck up once, it's fine, but if you fuck up twice, then you're like then you're fucked basically.
So this permadeath option makes it sound like it's Persona plus Darkest Dungeon.
Yeah,
Sure.
could be.
I like it.
Just don't get too
Mike,
attached. I'm playing it easy
Yeah.
mode pretty much with that feature on, where my students don't die when I fail them. But yeah, I'm actually looking forward to like a second playthrough in like a different house, and the permadeath mode on. Like
Yeah, and that's how
this
I'd
game's
advise
got
anyone to
replay
play it.
value.
That is genuinely how I'd advise anyone to play it. And so I'd say the same to you, like play it without the permadeath first, just so that you can experience the story in its fullest and get to really know the characters without losing them quickly. Because it is also quite challenging. The battles can get quite difficult. And then if you do a second playthrough, that's where you put your permadeath on, because then you've got a real feel for the game and the story, and you're not gonna be too distraught when you lose.
Then play it again and
Yeah,
watch them all
makes
die.
No, that sounds great. I'm already in. That sounds awesome.
She's already on the way to the shop. She's like, fuck the rest of this podcast, mate. I'm off. Bye.
But, score out of 10. I've got about 20 hours in. It's. I want to give it a 10. Yeah.
So Fire Emblem Three Houses gets a 10. What does Snap get?
I put it down as a 7, but maybe a 6. I don't know, 6 or 7.
Oh, cheeky 6. A high 6. It's a high 6. There you go. You've heard it.
6.
High 6 for Pokemon.
I'm giving Fire Emblem a 10 just because it sort of rekindled my love for like RPGs, which has dwindled out. Like I played Final Fantasy again, and it was just like it's just not quite hitting the mark for me.
Do you now see why I was so excited by Project Triangle Strategy when I saw that come out?
Yeah.
Remember when that was announced? Because it's got a similar combat system, and the minute I saw that, I was like, "Oh my god, this is going to be like Three Houses all over again. I need it."
Yeah. It's that tile-based strategy combat thing as well. I've been looking at Disgaea as well, because that has something a bit similar. But
I've played some of the Disgaeas, but the problem with in my opinion, with the Disgaeas, are the combat system's really good. Well, I say it's really good. It's a bit more comical in it, but it's very like slapstick comedy in its storylines, and I find the characters so difficult to care about.
Yeah.
That I've always struggled with the Disgaea games, but I am constantly on the lookout for those sort of tile-based combat games, because it's just the best.
Yeah,
those sort of strategy games are the best.
More tile-based combat, please.
Or if there's some more out there and me and Mike don't know about them, tell us.
Like, have you tried?
Tell us.
Have you tried Banner Saga?
I've heard of it.
Yeah, that's another tile-based. Lots of story and choices and stuff and consequences. Sarah, you as well, Shane. But you'd love Banner Saga.
Okay.
They're all good. Add it to the list.
Okay. So you're about to say something as well before we cut you up.
Me?
Yeah.
I said me too. If you know of any other tile combat based games, me too.
Tell us all.
all
tell us
three
all.
of
We
us.
need to know.
Everybody else is not nerd puzzle shit games person, so just tell us.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So shall we move on then? Now we've had that horrific blow for Pokemon and that outstanding review for Fire Emblem.
Yeah. Let's do it.
So this week we wanted to talk about indies versus AAA. And this kind of comes off the back of Mike having lost his PlayStation 4 too young. He is now playing a lot of indies, a lot more than he's played before.
R.I.P. Linda.
And we know
just putting that out.
It's just sad times. And Sarah, obviously, we know that you dip between both indies and AAAs quite a lot. So we wanted to just kind of touch on that. And this was actually your personal topic of choice, Sarah. So I expect lots of things to talk about from you. So my first question to both of you is: when you're looking at a game, and whether it be an indie or a AAA, both sides of it, what is it that you're looking for, and how does that differ between the two?
I'll go first. Or
Yeah,
you
yeah.
go first.
No, go on now. Go on, Sarah. You're the guest.
I think
Throw you under the
so.
bus.
So I don't remember the last AAA game I played. I feel like it might have been Persona, but that game always feels like it's not a AAA game. But I really, really like story-based, character-based, mind-bending games, and I feel like a lot of the times that's only done by indie developers and indie games. So that's usually what I look for. Um, but at the same time, I know that if I want a little bit more of a polished game, I'm going to look for a AAA game. But I feel like that's kind of changed recently because at least indie games, when they're like, hey, this is early access, they'll just say it's early access. Whereas AAA games will now just be like, it's complete, not.
Yeah.
So,
For me, it's story and gameplay, like obviously key. I think with like AAA, you get those like masterpiece titles like The Last of Us, The Last of Us 2, AAA titles. They spent years and years on those games, and they're just like a movie experience. It's like going to the cinema to watch a comedy for me is just like a no go because if I don't find it funny, I've wasted my fucking time. Whereas like I might pick it up on DVD later on a bit cheaper in a sale, and I look at that like AAA and indies. Like I'll pick up a lot of indies on sale and just be like, I'll get them. I'll try them. If they're not worth it, then I'll kind of pick them up. But like some AAA games, I'm like really excited for. Like last big one I played was The Last of Us 2 before Linda died, and just kind of like it's just a really polished experience for me with like a AAA. But then with an indie, you can be playing indie games like a lot longer than you would like a AAA game that you look at Darkest Dungeon, you can put hours and hours and hours into that game, and it's just like so rewarding. Same with a lot of like roguelikes and stuff. I end up playing more indie titles than I do AAAs, but I'll have a really good one solid experience on a AAA. That's how I kind of look at them anyway.
So, interestingly, I was just looking up as well, like based just off the back of what Sarah said as well, like what defines a AAA game. And so the definition of a AAA game, according to the internet, is a game that is distributed and produced by a mid-sized or major publisher, typically therefore having high development and marketing budgets than other tiers of games. So on that basis, from what I've just looked up, you're right in what you say, Sarah, in that Persona 5 doesn't actually fall into the AAA category. Atlas are just a very competent team.
right.
They're not technically in line with what you would class as a major or a mid-sized to major publisher, although they do have quite a few employees. They're not up there in that like technical and budget level. So if you were to look at, and sort of going off what you were saying as well, Mike, like the major differences of what you're looking for in and what you kind of expect, because if you look at that definition of a AAA game, then you look at the things like, was it GTA 5, Last of Us, God of War, I suppose Halo. They're the sort of games where you're going, well, the expectation
Call
of
of
them is
Duty.
to be Call of Duty.
Call of Duty.
The expectation is of them to be very highly polished, almost perfected titles that should just absolutely wipe the floor because they have just got such a massive development team behind them with so much money behind them. Whereas, as you say, and although they may not necessarily have the best, I mean, look at Mass Effect Andromeda, for example.
Cyberpunk.
Cyberpunk, technically AAA, clearly not quite.
Right.
Whereas those indie titles, you're likely to get a lot of more long-term gameplay out of them, as you were just saying, Mike. But yeah, I just wanted to throw that in there because I'd never actually thought about what the definition of a AAA game actually is.
Yeah, I guess
So
it's like down to budget, isn't it? Money, cash money.
The budget and team, and interestingly, because you could argue that, for example, like if we were to think about Pokemon, for example, you could argue that as a studio, they are a studio that operates within AAA profits, but do they ever are they operating within AAA budgets? Do they put budgets into the Pokemon games that are of a AAA nature? Are they extremely high budgeted teams? And is Game Freak even a particularly big team? Because I mean, I'll be honest, I don't know much about Game Freak on a studio level, due to them being Japanese and not one that we necessarily hear the ins and outs of the company about. And that might give an idea as to sort of like, although that's a massive game, is it truly a AAA game? Whereas you would never argue that like Last of Us 2 or even Last of Us 1 or God of War, for example, are not AAA games. They are the epiphany of what they are, the exact kind of idea of what a AAA game is and should be. If that made sense.
Yeah, I think for me it's safer to gamble on an indie game being good than it is a AAA game being good, because I feel like they might have AAA companies and those games, they do have a bigger budget, but with the bigger budget comes more people, which comes more rules. So they can't really take all of their experiments into the game and take it to a different level. Whereas like, we got lucky with the Last of Us series, and because it was such a good game, they had the ability to take it to where they wanted it to go. Whereas there are some AAA games, like you said, like Call of Duty, like they have a system that works and their budget just goes into making the same game look better.
Yeah. And I mean, not only is it safer, as you say, safer from a potential gameplay fun level, but it's 1,000,000% safer on your wallet, because with bigger budget comes more a much tighter profit margin, and therefore games need to be sold at a much higher price. Hence why we've now got the PS5 games coming out at £70 as a starting price, because those big AAA companies are obviously spending a lot more money, whereas generally indie games, now I've not played nearly as many as you guys, but £10 to £15 tops most indie games, if not less than that.
Yeah, like 20, £25, something like that.
And I think that ties into the last podcast I was on. We were talking about the value for your money. And like I played a lot of Loop Hero a couple of months ago, and I put maybe like 100 hours into it, and I got it for like 15. But that's the thing, it's just these roguelikes. There's not a lot of AAAs that are doing roguelike stuff, but for people like Mike and I, we like those kinds of games where it's like, I don't know how to explain it, but there's just some kind of satisfying feel you get from those roguelike type of things. And for me personally, it's safer for me to invest in an indie game, and it's nice to give money to those smaller developers. Like Party Hard was an indie game, and then they made a second one, and it was just as good. And it's because of people like us who like indie games that put money into it, and now we got even hilarious games.
I think as well, like if you put a AAA title and an indie title next to each other, like the indie title just has a charm about it that the AAA title doesn't necessarily have. Like it seems like there's more work gone into it somehow. Whereas like, if it's just one man, you're like, holy shit, like Super Meat Boy was built by like, I think like 2 people.
Yeah.
And you compare that to like, I don't know, some like big budget Mario game, you know, similar sort of like platforming or whatever, like Mario Maker. And Super Meat Boy just has this like charm about it that like a big budget Nintendo game just doesn't have.
Yeah, I think that really falls into like the if you're an indie company and you're wanting to build a game, you're building it because you have a passion for it, or there's just something you care about so much, or a story you need to get across really bad. And there's just, to me, more heart and soul in an indie game. And that's the kind of stuff that I gravitate
Yeah,
towards.
it's like a little underdog story, isn't it? Like, you know,
Right.
supporting the little guy kind of thing.
Yeah. It's just, I just feel like certain indie games for me are just a little bit more deeper and there's more care that goes into it. Even though it might be a little buggy, they made it because that's what they wanted and that was their dream. Whereas like Call of Duty 20, they made it because it works and the system works.
Yeah,
And there's
and
nothing wrong with that.
it makes them more money to make
Yeah.
a bigger game with more money.
Like I said, there's nothing wrong with that. And I think that, you know, I know a lot of people that are obsessed with Call of Duty games, and that's totally fine. It's just not for me.
That's what I mean about
Yeah.
the charm of like an indie. It's like, you know, this one man versus like this big software giant, and it's like
Right.
I'm happy to spend £60 on a smaller indie title. Not that they reach that amount usually. They're usually a lot cheaper, but like I'm
No.
more willing to give my money to an indie over a big budget title.
And I was just going to say, like, we just need to remember, and for the audience's sake, we are talking about the two ends of the spectrum of gaming here. AAA being that top end, and the indie be like top end of budgeted. Not no, I'm not talking about good and bad, but top end of like higher budget game. With indie being the bottom end of low budget games. Not saying the quality is any different,
Right.
or that they're worse games. Just that they're the budget wise and the team wise, they're two very opposite ends. Because then you do have that middle ground, which is where the likes of Persona 5 would sit. And I'm sure there are other games that I cannot think of off the top of my head right now that would sit in that middle ground, which is the AA standard, which is games that don't quite have the budget of a AAA, but then you wouldn't argue that Atlas is an indie studio, for example. They're definitely not an indie studio, but they're also not a AAA studio. They're in that middle ground. So this is just to clarify for our listeners. This is just looking at those. We're currently just talking about those two ends of the spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
The very, very top quality games. Those ones that have been classed as AAA because they're being made by a AAA studio versus those indie titles being made by 1, 2, a team of 5, a team of 20 developers in someone's basement. Just making, as Sarah said, making that game that they just dreamed of making. So again, I just wanted to put some clarification on that. So with, so we've heard about what you guys sort of look for in them, but what if you had to pick your best AAA and your best indie right now, not of all time, because I know that would be an impossible task, but as of right now, what would you say is your top AAA and your top indie at this moment in time?
Ooh.
I could probably go on this one. The Last of Us 2 is like my favourite game of all time. Just because it's a solid story, but that doesn't mean I'd play it forever. I wouldn't play it over and over again. I think it'd get quite boring quite quickly. But at the minute, I'm playing Curse of the Dead Gods, and I'm playing Slay the Spire, and I'm playing those constantly because they are just continuously different and fun. And I know it's maybe like two different genres, but I'd pick indie over AAA to play constantly over a long period of time over one AAA. Because I look at a AAA like this one big hit in my wallet, and then it's a big, you know, I'll spend like a solid amount of time on it, but then it'll be done, kind of thing.
Yeah. No, I know what you're saying with that.
Indie games
Like,
for the win.
And I'd agree with that. Before you go into your list, Sarah, like I've always found that indies, just as you said earlier, tend to have a bit more replayability to them. Whether it be because it's a slightly more simplistic format, or whether it be because they've just put more heart into building it. It tends to, in my opinion, it tends to be that there's a lot more replayability in an indie title than there is in most AAA titles, which are just a general start, middle, end. You're done. Move on with your life.
I think as well,
Yeah.
when I hear indie, I automatically go to like a roguelike or something like that has that replayability. So obviously, like the two different genres of what I was talking about. Like Last of Us is a huge story focused thing, and Curse of the Dead Gods is just a roguelike with like infinite replayability. So they're pretty different, but yeah, I stick by playing indie games.
Okay. So Sarah, what about yourself? What is at the moment your top indie, your top AAA, and if you had to pick one, play for the rest of your life, which would it be, indie or AAA?
First of all, I'm gonna say, Shane, I'm very impressed because I was like totally prepared for this conversation until you brought up your top indie and top AAA. So kudos on that. Great interview skills. I like that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. That's a great question. So I think I'm gonna have to go. This is tough. I think I'm gonna have to go with Darkest Dungeon for my favorite indie of all time. And I know you said that it doesn't have to be all time, but I would go back and play Darkest Dungeon right now in, I forget the mode, but God mode, whatever, because I think I put like 500 hours into that game in a span of like 5 years or something. That game is just something else. But for AAA, was BioShock AAA? I tried to Google it while Mike was talking, but I was also listening.
Who made it?
I think it was 2K, right?
I mean, if it was 2K, then I would say that they're definitely AA
AAA.
pushing AAA. Let me have a look. BioShock. Just the first one.
Yeah,
It's such a good game as well.
I know.
I'd throw that up there at AAA just because of like, not in terms of like budget and stuff, but just the scope of the game itself and like how cinematic it is and stuff like that.
Because yeah, I'm pretty sure Infinite was at least AAA. So
I mean, it's made by 2K, who are a pretty big studio.
Yeah.
And it was ported by like 3 other different studios to other consoles. So I'd say it was pretty up there with regards to a AAA title.
So yeah, I guess I would have to go with BioShock for a favorite AAA. What I'm realizing with this conversation is that anything that feels cinematic in AAA is just badass. Like The Last of Us, God of War, BioShock, anything that feels and plays like a badass movie, I'm seeing that I will go for AAAs in that regards. But
So
yeah.
it just to answer the question fully, it would definitely be classed as AAA. Its final budget was around 25 million.
Nice. Then yes, I would have to go with BioShock for favorite AAA and Darkest Dungeon for favorite indie. And if I could only pick one, I would definitely go with indie because I have to. But I was struggling with Darkest Dungeon and Bastion. I've played Bastion so many times that I don't know.
I love that game.
It's so good.
Again, it's got the charm. It's got the
I
charm
know,
of an indie
and
game,
Braid,
isn't it? Yeah.
so good.
Just going back to like, just reiterating my point, like that what you were saying as well, Sarah, about sort of AAA being this cinematic experience and being like I feel like a AAA is like going to watch Lord of the Rings in the cinema, and like an indie is like watching The Office at home. They're like two
or
very
like
different feelings. Like
Napoleon Dynamite at home.
yeah.
What about you, Shane?
Yeah. So firstly, just to clarify, so that 25 million is across the entire BioShock series, not just BioShock 1. But I did do some more research, and it is definitely a AAA game. Secondly, so for AAA,
It's a tough question, right?
Could choose
yeah,
wisely.
it is a tough one.
Are you going to pick Skyrim?
Destiny?
100% am not picking Skyrim. I suppose if trying to think of like what AAAs have I played recently that I've really enjoyed, and I suppose that it's gonna be one of the big Sony exclusives because they're sort of that. When I think AAA, as I was saying earlier, I think really highly polished. So like Spider-Man or God of War, it would be one of those. I think I'd probably pick if I had to pick any of this like those titles, it'd probably be God of War. I think
That's a
like you
big
say,
hitter right there.
A great answer.
yeah, it's got everything to me that is the hallmark of a AAA. It's super polished, super well written, and you can tell it's had a big budget go into it and a lot of time and a massive team to make that feel and play the way it does.
Yeah, that's like one of the very few AAA games that you could tell people cared about it when they made it.
Yeah, it's a fantastic game. But for the indie side, so I don't play a lot of indies. But there is one indie that I've played a lot of, and that's probably Stardew Valley.
Yeah.
And that is a fantastic made indie. And considering, isn't it all made by like one guy?
Yeah, one guy. I think he's hired a few more people now, but yeah, one guy.
Yeah, when he first started out, and when I think about replayability, I mean that game you can play that for ever,
Just endlessly,
and
yeah.
just
And that
keep going.
as well. That was a passion project. Like he loved Harvest Moon, but just didn't like the way it worked, and just wanted to make it better, and he did. So kudos to that guy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
seriously.
definitely. Because I used to love playing Harvest Moon. I love the Harvest Moon games. They're great.
Yeah.
They unfortunately seem to have got worse over the years, though. But I mean, for me, that is like when I think indie, that's what I think of. Not because it's like that old school like 8-bit graphics and like that pixelated style, but just the simplicity of it all. And you just pick it up, play it. You can play it for 10 hours or you could play it for 20 minutes and still have just as much fun. Either way, you can't do that necessarily with a AAA game. Like you tend to have, once you've picked it up, you either have to like play through the bit you're in. You can't just pick it up, do something for 5 minutes, then go back, put it back down again.
You can't pick up and put down God of War, can you? Like if
No, you can't.
if you're playing that
exactly.
game, you are fucking in that game.
Exactly. But you could, like say, you could pick up Stardew, you could literally do a day in 10 minutes and then be like, oh, I've got to go make dinner now. Or you could pick it up and just sit on it for like 5 hours solid. But if you did that with most AAAs, you'd probably get close to completing them because, unfortunately, the big games tend to have short stories. But although that has got better, and we say that, and I feel actually in the last 5 years we've had, because God of War had quite a long story. The Last of Us had a pretty decent length.
Both 30 hours ish.
Horizon.
Horizon had a pretty decent length. I think out of all of them, Spider-Man was probably one of the shortest, but didn't necessarily feel that short. So yeah, I would go with that. And if I could only play one, I mean, it would have to be the indie. It'd have to be Stardew. I mean, I love God of War, but there's only so many times I could play that before I just would hate it.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't think I could ever hate Stardew Valley. The farm will always need tending.
Yeah.
So there will always be animals to feed and crops to sell. So I don't think I could ever. There's never going to be a day where I wake up and go, I fucking hate doing this. Whereas if I was made to fight the guardian creature things in God of War every single day for the rest of my life, after about day 4, I'd probably want to snap my disc in half.
Yeah.
Man,
I find it. Sorry, go on, Sarah. I was just going to say that I find this topic so interesting. Like, I know we said like we defined it as like the budget and stuff, but like I don't know. I just think indie and AAA just feel differently. Like they play differently. They just have huge differences. That I think it's like more than just the budget.
Yeah, and bear in mind, like that was merely the definition, like the definition taken from the internet. Like I think we all have our own personal definitions of what meets AAA to our standards.
Yeah.
As I say, like a lot of people, I think, would look at Persona 5 and would argue that that's a AAA game by their standard, whereas I think both me and Sarah are in agreement that by our standard it isn't.
Right,
it's a very, very good game, and it's 100% a AA, but I don't think it meets a AAA standard. Persona 6 might do, having them with them making so much money off of 5, but we've all got our own personal sort of definitions of what.
Also, when is Persona? Totally off topic, but when is Persona 5 coming to Switch? Like, that just seems like the perfect fucking marriage. But they've got Strikers on there, which seems really odd because that's like a sequel to it, isn't it?
Yeah, but they've always introduced like a side game. Like there is like Q and Q2 that they've introduced on Nintendo systems. But I think the main game is always on PlayStation, and the side games are always on a Nintendo system.
Okay.
I think it could
really
also
bizarre.
be down. It could also be down to tech. Because Persona 5 was built originally for the PS3, wasn't it? But it was when it was first built, and I never played the PS3 version, but I've done a bit of research on it. So when that game first came out on the PS3, it was clunky as fuck, and it had its issues, and it very much. I mean, Sarah, you've played a lot of the older Personas, so you know what I mean in that it wasn't particularly well polished with regards to its like technical or graphical ability. Like the story was still as polished as it has always been, but much like Persona 4, it had its issues graphically. It had its issues here and there with like jumpy scenes, and then it was right at the end of the PS3 life, and then they tidied it up and cleaned it up for the PS4. And then when it launched on both, but the PS4 version was the one that was given the limelight, and the PS4 version obviously ran substantially better than the PS3 version, and that's why most people only ever know about the PS4 version, because that was the one that was really pushed. And obviously since then they've only increased and enhanced the game.
Yeah.
So I think taking it down to the Switch's capabilities, which is like high-end PS3, low-end PS4, would be a challenge.
But then they have Doom Eternal on there.
That's true.
They do, but then we look at
and the cloud-based streaming thing that they're doing now as well with the high-end titles.
We do, but then again look at when we go back to that AAA idea of the budget and the team. The budget and the team behind Doom compared to the budget and the team behind Atlas is very different pockets.
Yeah, true.
I'm sure that the ID Software team have got a lot more abilities and money behind them to do that.
If Persona 5 came out on Switch, I'm definitely getting it though. So, hey guys, if you want to make it, you're going to make double the money. So please go ahead and do it.
or just don't and bring us Persona 6 quicker.
That's true. That's true.
Because that's where it's at.
Yeah, I just want to piggyback off of what Mike said, because when we interrupted each other, I was gonna say exactly what you were gonna say. Like, this topic to me is so interesting, and I really hope that a lot of people comment on this, because I'm really curious as to what other people think.
Yeah, I'm interested in what people's definition of a AAA versus an indie is.
Yeah, and if like, are we weird for finding charm in it? You know, like because I don't feel like I'm weird for finding charm in it, but I know some people that will only play Call of Duty games.
Yeah.
Yeah, so do I. And Call of Duty and FIFA.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's for all the listeners, like that's what we want to know. Like, what is your definition of a AAA versus an indie, and what come at us with your games? Like, what is either right now or all time, whichever is your preference, your top AAA and your top indie, and tell us what you think. And hopefully you'll be able to give us some cool indies ideas to play, because that's the big thing that I struggle with when it comes to indie versus AAA. Is it's often obvious which AAA's to play because there's TV adverts, there's reviews, they're shoved in your face. I like God of War Ragnarok coming out. You can't take a step into any sort of like gaming website without hearing about it when it
True.
gets close to it coming out. Most indie games don't get anywhere near the level of press coverage,
Yeah.
if any press coverage, and it's almost you have to stumble across them of your own accord.
Yeah.
Um,
Unless it's something really special like
like Stardew, for example.
Stardew,
It's-
yeah. Goose Game is another one.
Oh,
Fall,
so
Yeah.
good.
Fall Guys as well. I'm sure that was an indie team, and they just fucking took the world by storm.
Yeah, haven't they been bought by Sony now, Mediatonic?
Oh, maybe.
Yeah, probably.
I'm
That sounds
sure
about right.
they have.
The indie games that I've been playing recently are just the games that Mike's been like, you'd like this game.
Yeah. Buy this.
Exactly, but that's the thing. Like indies, often they do well by word of mouth as opposed to having huge advertising budgets
Yeah.
that shove it down your throat. So
Yeah.
tell us what indies you've been playing and what indies we should play. I know Sarah and Mike will go away and play them, and I might.
Yeah.
But
I
they
Yeah,
definitely will.
definitely
I'll go
will.
play them, and then the next time you guys have me on, I'll talk all about them.
All about them.
All about them.
Should we crack on with the news?
Yeah, so should we come towards the end of the episode? We've only got 2 news stories we wanted to raise this week. The first one's a bit of a weird one, and I know, Mike, you've got a little bit to say on this as well. So for those of you that have been following along, it's been going on for a long time now, but the Apple and Epic court case has officially started. The actual court hearing started. It was either today or yesterday. It started. Mike, you actually stumbled across this recently.
Yeah, I mean, I was just looking at Twitch earlier today as we record this on Monday. Monday, May the 3rd. And I was like, the Game Awards official stream was up. I was like, what is this? Is this some game news that I'm not unaware of? And I clicked on it, and it was under the tag of Fortnite. So it was tagged in the Fortnite stream list. And it was just an audio of the court case just ongoing, and I just found it really weird that the Game Awards were streaming it. I just found it like quite bizarre, but obviously people are interested in it, so here we are talking about it.
So I've actually been reading up, following it along quite a bit. Not just this, like the court case itself, but since the whole kind of everything kind of happened with it. And it's some really interesting stuff. So the whole court case is being constantly live updated online, and you can listen into certain parts of it.
Is that like unheard of? Do you know what I mean? Is that like been done before?
What, the streaming of a case and like being? The recent George Floyd case was video shared and streamed to the world as well, and a lot of it you could watch live.
Yeah.
So it's not, I wouldn't say it's unheard of, but for a video game based court case of this nature, maybe, because obviously that was a murder case and that's a lot higher profile.
Yeah.
But for something of this nature, maybe unheard of. I'm not 100%. But it's a pretty big case with regards to the two of them.
In terms of
it's
like money as
interesting.
well, yeah.
Well, it's interesting because there were some figures were announced that Fortnite only on the iOS only provided Epic with something like 8% of their profits. So Epic really aren't, money-wise, they're really not losing much out by pulling Fortnite from the Apple Store. So it makes sense as to why they've gone up against Apple for this. And the big arguments kind of between the two for anybody who isn't aware or hasn't been following it is that Apple was saying, well, you put things on our store, on our devices, then you have to abide by our rules. And by not abiding by our rules, you are in breach of your contract, and therefore we can pull you as we want. You're not allowed to do stuff that are in breach of us. Epic is ultimately saying that Apple has, and I don't disagree with this, Apple has not only created a monopoly over its customers, but they've done it in such a way that they now control their customers through their way that they handle their business. So what Epic are saying, and they're not wrong, is that Apple customers are forced to use products that are not necessarily the top products and don't necessarily or not necessarily the best products, or don't necessarily work well with products outside of the Apple program, because of the way that Apple builds its phones and its devices.
Yeah,
So
you're buying into like the ecosystem, aren't you? Not
exactly.
the device itself.
The easiest one to talk about would be music, for example. Is obviously iTunes. I hate iTunes with a passion.
Nobody fucking uses iTunes. Come on.
No, it doesn't. But when it first came along, like, it was very much forced upon you that the only way you could use music on an iPhone was via iTunes. When
Yeah.
it sort of first came about, they've come away from that a little bit. But what Epic is saying is there's things that, like, their iMessage app is not available on other services, and why isn't it available on other services, and why do they lock their customers into this almost control monopoly? And it's not, and to be fair, it's not just a push at Apple, it's a push at online, how the online industry works altogether. So this will have ramifications on Microsoft, Sony, the Epic Store itself, Steam, any digital store that deals with any form of digital currency or digital gaming. This will have ramifications on, because it could set new boundaries for how those stores need to operate legally.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see how it comes out and see what's happening with that. The other thing to mention from that, and why I wanted to bring it up, is that there's been some really interesting documents that have come out of it. So as part of it, lots of documents have been disclosed that previously would never have been disclosed. And these are documents that are relevant to the court case, and they are being disclosed not just by Apple and Epic, but by other companies that are also inadvertently involved in this. One of those documents, for example, was a document by Microsoft, and it was an internal review by two of their internal team of The Last of Us 2. And it was basically them internally reviewing. And this is the first ever time that we've really actually got to see what someone internally thinks, a rival on a rival, and their genuine internal views from an actual internal review.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it was exactly as expected. Like, Last of Us 2 got a glowing review internally, and they picked up on all the flaws that anyone would pick up on, that I think everybody agrees with, essentially. And they picked up on all the masterpieces, like elements of it that were masterpieces. But it's interesting to look at those documents and see sort of what internal reviews companies are doing on each other and what they're looking at with each other. There's also a lot of documents that have been released on how store policies work, and a lot of documents, again, that would never have been released previously to the public, on how much profit is being made through digital games, how digital games operate, how the servers operate. All that sort of stuff is coming out as part of these disclosures. So there's some really interesting information there. But again, as I say, this is highly likely going to change, or potentially change, the way that digital games and the policy and procedures behind digital games is going to work in the future.
Yeah,
so
it's interesting and maybe something to keep track of. But for now, for me personally, it's just $1 million company versus another $1 million company. But
it's not. This is a lot of people were selling this as a David and Goliath situation, and that's not. It's a Goliath and a Goliath situation. Yeah. We're David watching. We are literally like just the little ants watching two men scrap in a barbecue.
Yeah. So have you got
nothing more to it?
Well, I live where Epic is, and according to their building, they're doing fine.
Exactly.
Apple has its rules, and its rules are stupid. That's why I have an Android phone. There's just so much you can do with Apple products that I can't work with. So I have to use a lot of Android products to make sure the work that I do works. And of course, that's actually when I work. Epic didn't follow the rules, and they're upset about it. And so it's like, whatever.
That's my favorite thing about this though is you didn't follow the rules, you got told off, and you were upset about it. That's literally a kid going up to another kid at school and throwing sand in their eyes, getting told off, and being like, "Well, why am I getting told off? I didn't do anything wrong."
I didn't put the sand there.
Like
How,
literally.
like, how many people are going to be upset that they can't play Fortnite on their iPads? Like, I don't.
As I say, it's only 8% of their profit came from, so not a lot, basically.
Yeah, it just sounds like wah wah to me.
Yeah,
pretty much.
But it's funny to follow.
Yeah, exactly. It's an interesting one.
Yeah.
The other piece you got, and this is very interesting news, and there's not much to say on it right now, but it's worth mentioning, is that PlayStation and Discord announced today or yesterday, the other day, that they are partnering for the future of PlayStation.
I heard the word parenting, or I might have just read it wrong, but partnering. Yeah,
partnering.
I think it's partnering.
Yeah. I mean, I literally just glanced at it like before coming to do this. So,
well,
dyslexia is a real problem, and don't be ashamed of it.
They haven't really specified much. All we know is that, or what they've really said is that they are partnering with Discord, and that the PlayStation social features will become potentially part of Discord moving forward, and that they hope to have all of it in place next year. Obviously, this is a huge bonus for PlayStation because Discord is now one of the most used, if not the most used, sort of like social platform for gamers to.
Yeah, it's where I have most of my conversations. To be fair.
Yeah.
I mean, we're literally recording this podcast through
Yeah.
Discord at this moment in time. So
I think this is great because I think communicating on PlayStation's stuff is just awful. I know that a lot of the times when we play games on PlayStation, we still use Discord to talk instead of PlayStation.
Just a lot easier now.
And it would be pretty cool if like people didn't want to stream their gaming through Twitch, but maybe could stream through Discord and play it on PlayStation. You can talk on Discord. Like that would be pretty cool.
That would be really cool. And the other thing you've got to consider is we know that Microsoft and Sony have been more open in the last year or two to crossplay, and we've slowly been getting more games that are going crossplay. Call of Duty, the fucking car one, Rocket League.
Yeah, it just makes sense nowadays, doesn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. And Destiny's going crossplay in a couple of weeks. So the way the systems are set up at the moment is the Xbox chat system and the PlayStation chat system cannot talk to each other. They don't talk to each other, and you have to use the in-game chat systems, which, as we know, Mike, you've used the Call of Duty one. The in-game chat systems are never particularly that good.
Oh, absolute garbage.
They're usually trash. So this could be PlayStation putting the foot forward to set up some crossplay and build some bridges and for the fans and be like, you know what, look, we know it's important to you, so we're putting things in place to make crossplay easier for you. So
I really like that.
I don't know whether,
I'm not saying that is what's happening, but it could be happening.
Well, I saw recently that Xbox were looking to buy Discord, but maybe that was like an April Fool's. I can't quite remember the date.
That's right.
But they were looking at like
so many articles recently about things that Microsoft are going to buy, and none of them have currently been true. There was an article recently that originally Sony was looking to buy Bethesda before Microsoft did, and then there was another article saying that everyone wants to buy Square Enix, and even Square put out a tweet to say, no one's trying to buy us. Where has this come from? Like, it's just at the moment, people seem to be obsessed with the idea that Microsoft and Sony are just going to buy everyone.
Yeah.
It doesn't. I mean, there's nothing to say they wouldn't buy it. They've got the money, but
I
don't.
When I saw that, it was like Xbox are buying Discord for like 10 billion or something like that. I was like, somebody needs to take Xbox wallet away. Like, stop getting drunk at 2 a.m. and ordering shit off Amazon. Because
I mean, if you were Phil Spencer and it was 2 a.m. and you were drunk, would you not just be like, yeah, I'll just buy Discord for 10 million?
Yeah, fuck it, why not?
I've got that money.
Same day delivery, let's go.
I think Discord knows its worth and probably won't go for something like that.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, can you imagine waking up as Phil Spencer, hungover as fuck the next day to look at your phone and like looking just like all these new articles coming up, and you've been like, oh fuck! So I've just bought out Square Enix. Brilliant. I'm gonna have to do something with that now. Amazing. But yeah, so that's I mean that's some good news from PlayStation. So it'll be interesting to see where that goes. What I'd like to see is if we could just have peace in our time. If Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo could all just come together, all pay some money to Discord, all of them partner on this one product, so that all three consoles can all have Discord embedded in them, and then the world would be perfect.
That would be so awesome.
Really
console peace in our time, and then the Switch then would actually have a decent chat system.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, that'd be awesome.
I mean, something to ponder on. Mike, do you want to do the honours?
Yeah, so that was the episode. That's it. That's it from us. We'll be back next week with another guest. We're not sure who yet because we're shit at scheduling, apparently.
I am scheduling.
Yeah, so hope you enjoyed the episode. Let us know about your AAAs and your indies. And just, generally just let us know about the topics discussed, what you thought of the news, and that's it from us. Catch you next time. Goodbye.
Triple XP. Triple XP. Triple XP.